This is insane. UFC executives have given testimony in court suggesting that the structure of the company is much different than we previously thought. We need to talk all about it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is MMA 365, the greatest UFC news YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe, especially because Yuri Prohaska is seeking wisdom from a beaver in the forest. And in order for the wise beaver to give Yuri Prohaska advice, we need you to hit that subscribe button. Thank you. So let's talk about this. This is from yesterday, and it's still ongoing. The UFC is in an antitrust court case, and there's a big statement with big implications on the UFC. Um, this is from the BBC, where Dana White said in court, in testimony, under oath, "You won't find one manager on this planet who will tell you I've negotiated a deal in I don't know how long." Well, that's awkward phrasing, but essentially Dana White said himself from the mouth of Babe that he is not behind fighter contracts. And Hunter Campbell said he never even looks at fighter contracts or asks any questions, but Dana White has unwavering trust in his matchmaking team and instead focuses on the big picture side of the business, like the growth of the sport and the production aspect. So I want to talk about this because this is really a big deal because Dana White has been the face of the UFC for so long, and it's really looking like Hunter Campbell has sort of shifted, or he's doing the dirty work now, and Dana White is kind of just the face of the organization. Dana White has the charisma, but Hunter Campbell is the one doing the dirty work behind the scenes, putting the fights on, setting up matchmaking, and to me, this confirms something that a lot of fans already suspected, that being that Dana White might be on his way out as head of the UFC, and Hunter Campbell could be assuming a larger role very soon. But this shows an interesting workplace dynamic because what does Dana White do at this point? I'm reminded of DJ Khaled, where it is kind of unclear what DJ Khaled is, and I fear for Dana White. I mean, his last batch of fight promotions have been lackluster at best, mostly Instagram live videos without too much explanation or too much hype behind it. Just, what's up, guys? We got a banger fight coming up, yada, yada, yada. We want more. We want more, Dana. Hunter Campbell, you've probably heard of him if you've been following the sport for a while. You've probably seen his face before ringside at big cards, but I ask you, do you know what Hunter Campbell's voice sounds like? I've been watching UFC for years. I watch every single event, and I don't know what Hunter Campbell sounds like. I don't know anything about him besides he's that guy with glasses who is doing a lot of work for the UFC. At this point, Dana White seems purely like a mouthpiece for Hunter Campbell, and I'd say that he's not even doing a very good job at that because his fight announcements have seemed very phoned in. Dana seems a lot more concerned now with Power Slap and Zuffa boxing than he does with what was once his prized possession, that being the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And YouTuber MMA on Point put it better than I could, that being that Dana White is a wartime president in an era of peace. The UFC has secured their multi-billion-dollar deal with Paramount, but Dana White is the kind of person who likes seeing things grow, likes being the visionary, but the UFC kind of isn't in a position to need a visionary anymore. Relative to Dana White's wildest dreams 20 years ago, the UFC won. They made it. They have billions of dollars in capital. They have the vast majority of the greatest mixed martial artists in the world. And it kind of feels like Dana White is moving on to other ventures, and the company, the other executives are seemingly picking up the slack. The UFC is a fight promotion, but I fear that we don't really have a fight promoter right now, and that's pretty vital. I mean, you wonder why fighters now don't seem to have as much star power as they did 10 years ago or so. The era of Khabib and Conor McGregor. And I think a big reason of that is because Dana White seems kind of checked out right now. The skill threshold to be a successful UFC fighter is higher than ever before, but the star power still feels lower. And I think a major reason why is because fighters seemingly have to promote themselves. And, well, they're mixed martial artists. They have training, they have a lot of stuff to do. Dana White has seemingly stepped away completely from the day to day operations, and I'm sure Hunter Campbell is very intelligent, but I have no idea if he's charismatic enough to be the mouthpiece of this company. Maybe he is, but I really don't know because I've literally never heard him speak before. So the UFC is seemingly in this weird position now where you're a fight promotion without a promoter who's really involved in the day to day affairs of the business, a promoter who's not involved in the fights that he's promoting. It's bizarre. This era has been approaching for a while now, but these statements in court where there's nowhere to hide kind of just accentuates the problem and puts a bigger eye on it. I'd be curious to see who's next. A UFC without Dana White feels completely unfathomable, but I think it's time that we start to grapple with that question. What's next for the UFC after Dana does decide to hang it up? This is a big picture question that the UFC has time to figure out. I mean, they're getting $1 billion a year for 7 years from Paramount, so they have time to sort this stuff out. But I'm curious to see what the next steps are. But I do want to talk about because we have a fight night this weekend tomorrow, and I know it's in the Apex, but I really do think this one will be pretty good. We have opening up the main card Dustin Jacoby against Julius Walker. Walker, he's a rising prospect. He's young. I believe he's in his late 20s. The former basketball player. He's athletic. And Dustin Jacoby, he's kind of the bona fide light heavyweight gatekeeper. So this is a step for Julius Walker to prove himself. And he only does have 8 pro fights, while Dustin Jacoby is a longtime veteran. So I'm a little concerned for Julius Walker on this one, but I really want to watch this. And next, Jan Matsumoto against Farid Basharat. I mean, one loss combined for both of these guys. Either of them could be ranked bantamweights within the next 2 or 3 fights, maybe by the end of the year. So this is a nice prospect versus prospect fight with high stakes for both of these guys' careers. And then Mikhail Olashuk against Marc-Andre Barrio. Two swing and bang middleweights. I think this one's going to be a banger. I think someone's going to get knocked out. I like watching both of these guys fight. Jailton Almeida stepped in on short notice to fight Rizwan Kuniev, and I know that we're down on Jailton Almeida after his last fight, but I like his chances here because of how big of a leap this is for Kuniev, who previously lost to a Curtis Blades with 2 torn MCLs. Amir Albazi is finally back, so Saturday night is a rare opportunity to watch Amir Albazi, and he gets Kyoichi Horiguchi, who turned to the UFC, fought a Tagir Ulanbekov, and he knocked him out. He looked brilliant while doing it, didn't miss a beat. So this is a fairly sizable step up for Horiguchi if he wins this. Either of the fighters who win this really put themselves right into title contention. And then the main event, Mario Bautista against Vinicius Oliveira. And Oliveira kind of has a puncher's chance here, but he does have serious power for bantamweight division. I know Mario Bautista gets kind of a bad rap, but he fought against Umar Nurmagomedov. That was a fun fight that he ultimately lost, but there's levels to this, and I think Mario Bautista has a fairly good chance here. As always, it does feel kind of underwhelming that this is being fought in the Apex, but these fights I think will be pretty good, and I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow night. And that'll conclude this video for now. Be sure to subscribe because Yuri Prohaska is seeking wisdom from the beaver in the forest, and in order for the beaver to convey his truth to Yuri, you need to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching.